Yeah, we talked about it, and we've said many times, yeah, there is a core fan base surrounding the character of Ahsoka and the Clone Wars, and to a lesser extent, the show Rebels. But how big is that in comparison to the general public and the base Star Wars fan base? And how is this really going to come across? They put everything into Ahsoka. They made it very clear that they were going all in on this show. Massive marketing campaign, big fan event at Disneyland, a screening that they did, very highly publicized. And then, of course, they moved the time slot. Instead of coming out at 3 in the morning, midnight on Pacific, they decided to move it up and make it an actual primetime event to desperately try to get people to watch this show. They made it clear they're putting everything into it. And all I could say was oof, because that's the best way to describe these numbers. The latest new Star Wars series, Ahsoka, finally hit screens with 1.2 million households watching over its first 6 days. This is similar to viewership of Andor's premiere and slightly lower than Mandalorian's third season. By slightly lower, they mean 30% lower. So, like, the idea of slightly lower is just a fucking lie. And when you compare it to everything else, you really start to see what a disappointment this is. And Andor, to be clear, Andor has a lot of positivity for the people that watched it.
Yes, yes.
But it didn't have mass appeal because it's not a character that anybody fucking cares about. They're not like just shoveling fucking member berries all through the entire thing. But a lot of people say it's a decently made show. This is the opposite. This show is heavily marketed using Hayden Christensen as Anakin coming back, using all these things that are supposed to pull on these fans' nostalgia to see these characters. And it is fucking bombing for them right now. Samba TV reports the live plus 5, so 6-day viewership for the first episode of Ahsoka drew 1.2 million households. Disney dropped the first 2 episodes of the Dave Filoni created series on Thursday. And to be clear, this is like, obviously Dave Filoni's had a hand in everything that's happened Mando wise. This one is his baby, right? Favreau's still executive producer, but in terms of like singular showrunner, this is Dave Filoni's baby right here. The second episode clocked 956,000, so they lost about a quarter of their viewers between episodes 1 and 2, just to put that out there. Ahsoka is a live-action sequel series to executive producer Filoni's Lucasfilm animated series Clone Wars and Rebels, another Toon series he created, blah, blah, blah. Ahsoka's first episode ratings are even with the first episode of Tony Gilroy created Star Wars series Andor, which also pulled 1.2 million households over its live plus 5. However, it's down 50% from Obi-Wan Kenobi, which pulled in 2.4 million. And it's also down from the first episode of season 3, The Mandalorian, by 30%, 1.7 million households. That's why I said the idea that it's slightly below Mando season 3 is a fucking lie. It's down nearly a third from that. And this is not good for them. Like, there's no way they can possibly try to spin this, even though, you know, they'll attempt, but it can't work.
They can attempt, but it's not. This is really bad. And I got thinking about this. I feel like without George Lucas, he's nothing really. And it goes back to leadership. I'm not going to tell you George is a great leader. There's no evidence that he's a great leader. He's obviously a great visionary. He's a great creative. And obviously the man created the entire universe of Star Wars. Clearly, Dave Filoni was someone that was willing to just kind of fall in line and learn from George and try to kind of mimic him or whatever, follow his lead. And it just doesn't seem like the same person now versus like even Rebels, the Clone Wars, even you saw the lack of George in Rebels, in my opinion. Even though I liked Rebels, I did like Rebels, it didn't feel the same as Clone Wars at all. Now with Filoni kind of being on his own, I mean, obviously he's been under like Jon Favreau's wing and stuff like that, but it's just not the same. The magic is gone. Without the magic of George's, whatever it is, there's a magic touch that George has because he created it. And without that, I feel that it affects even my viewing of a lot of stuff that I've seen under Disney Star Wars. George's magic is clearly gone from the equation. And without that, you're left with stale, bland stories and a stale universe.